What's your favorite scary movie?
Wes Craven's Scream. There are very few slasher series that pay homage to what came before while at the same time raising the bar to new, nigh unbeatable heights. It's really the whole package. Scream is scary, funny, and goes places with meta storytelling like nothing that came before it. Characters like Sidney Prescott, Billy Loomis, Gale Weathers, Dewey Riley, and of course the Ghostface Killer themselves have climbed the ranks with their horror ancestors and contemporaries for nearly 30 years and counting. Scream begins with Sidney Prescott, who, along with her friends, have become the target of an elusive costume serial killer on the anniversary of her mother's murder. Here I'll recount how this story came to be. Don't answer the door, don't leave the house, don't answer the phone. But most of all, don't scream. A million years ago, way back in 1994, in a time where the successful slasher films of the 70s and 80s and their seemingly endless sequels had gotten a little stale, there was a struggling screenwriter named Kevin Williamson. While house-sitting for a friend, Williamson watched a Turning Point documentary on Danny Rolling, also known as the Gainesville Ripper, a serial killer from Florida. Watching a documentary about a serial killer while house-sitting all alone left Williamson unnerved. To make matters worse, he noticed an open window that he didn't remember opening himself. After arming himself with a knife, he called a friend for support. Williamson and his friend began talking about horror movie killers that had resonated with them, like Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees. Williamson was awakened the next morning by a nightmare. He combined the nightmare and a one-act play he wrote in college about an unknown caller taunting a young woman as inspiration for the opening home invasion scene of Scream. While listening to the Halloween score for inspiration, Williamson wrote a script over the next 3 days for a slasher he originally called Scary Movie. No, not that one. A movie with the type of horror he enjoyed when he was a kid but believed was no longer being made. Williamson drew from his favorite horror films like Halloween, Friday the 13th, and A Nightmare on Elm Street. He wrote a lot of the script around a single line of dialogue from the final film.
Don't you blame the movies! Movies don't create psychos! Movies make psychos more creative!
At the time, everyone was worried about how violence in movies was influencing audiences, and he thought it was a great line in response. While writing, Williamson also drafted some outlines for possible sequels. In his script for Scary Movie, Williamson wrote characters who were designed to be knowledgeable about horror movies, intending to write a unique killer who exploited horror film cliches to his advantage. He wanted to expose the rules and tropes of horror movies and play with them out in the open so the audience wouldn't know what to expect, setting them on edge. And it worked. The opening scene of Scream kills off Casey Becker, the girl you thought you'd be rooting for the entire movie, emulating Alfred Hitchcock killing off Janet Leigh's character early on in Psycho. Williamson's unexpected move leaves you hooked and wondering how things are going to unfold, knowing literally any character could die no matter how important they might seem. Williamson originally didn't really think the script would sell and mainly used it to gain some attention and land other writing jobs. Williamson's agent suggested he tone down the gore of the script in order to help sell it better. Williamson agreed but refused to cut any dialogue, thinking that's what set it apart from other similar movies. Within only a year, several studios like Paramount and Universal were competing to gain the rights to Scary Movie. Eventually, the script got the attention of Dimension Films, a subsidiary of Miramax, where it was pursued by Bob Weinstein. Even though other studios were offering more, Williamson's lawyer advised him to take Weinstein's offer of between $400,000 and $500,000 because he and Dimension were willing to make the film right away. Weinstein suggested changing the title from Scary Movie to Scream because he was worried audiences would think the movie was a comedy instead of a horror. He suggested the title based on the Michael and Janet Jackson song of the same name. At least that's the rumor. The search for a director began. Danny Boyle, Sam Raimi, Robert Rodriguez, George A. Romero, and even Quentin Tarantino were considered, but no deals were made as apparently all of them envisioned Scream as an all-out comedy instead of the horror satire it truly was. Dimension wanted Wes Craven for the job, but even though he liked the script, Craven wanted to work on less gory projects. Craven was also trying to go more mainstream, because he thought he was getting negative publicity based on his previous movies. After his planned adaptation of the novel The Haunting of Hill House was cancelled, and his latest movie, the comedy Vampire in Brooklyn, was considered a failure, Craven suggested the studio, quote, make him an offer he can't refuse. Dimension did, also offering him his choice of projects to direct after Scream, and Craven took it.
Like and subscribe.
The cast of Scream features a mix of established stars like Drew Barrymore and Courtney Cox, and relatively unknown actors for the main cast. Drew Barrymore was actually the producer's choice to play the main character, Sidney Prescott, but after reading the script, Barrymore asked to play the smaller role of Casey Becker from the film's opening. After considering the impact of killing off the most well-known actor during the intro would convince the audience that no one was safe, the producers agreed. To really hone in on the shock of losing what the audience thought was the main character, the marketing team beefed up Drew Barrymore's presence in the film's trailers and posters too. Brooke Shields and Janine Garofalo were considered for the role of Gale Weathers, the movie's local journalist. Producers eventually suggested Courtney Cox for the role, interested in seeing her play against type for her usual roles at the time like Family Ties and, of course, Friends. Wes Craven at first didn't know if Cox would be able to play the cold, calculating part, but she wrote him a letter assuring him that being a bitch wouldn't be a stretch at all.
When I say hurry, please interpret that as move your fat tub of lard ass now!
For the main role of Sidney Prescott, young actresses from the time like Melissa Joan Hart, Vanessa Shaw, Alicia Witt, Brittany Murphy, and Reese Witherspoon were considered, but no one impressed the principal crew as much as Neve Campbell. Wes Craven had seen Campbell in Party of Five and asked her to audition for the part. He believed she could portray a character who was innocent, but who could also handle herself while dealing with the physical conflict and emotions required by the role. And to improve her chances, producers filmed her screen test first, compelling her rivals to try and produce a better performance. And when no one could, the role was hers. David Arquette auditioned for one of the main teenagers, but found he liked the role of Dewey better. Arquette molded it into a character with a position of authority who gets no respect.
God damn it, Dewey.
What did Mama tell you? When I wear this badge, you treat me like a man of the law.
Thora Birch and Natasha Lyonne auditioned for the role of Tatum Riley, Sidney's best friend and Dewey's sister, but the casting director thought Rose McGowan embodied the spunky, cynical, yet innocent nature of the role. For the role of Billy Loomis, Vince Vaughn was considered since he was rising in popularity at the time, but he was too sick to audition. Luckily, that's how we got Skeet Ulrich for the role. Matthew Lillard also auditioned for the role of Billy, but the casting director didn't think he was the right actor to, quote, make out with Neve Campbell, and they had him audition for Billy's best friend Stu instead. Craven loved his audition and immediately offered him the part. Freddie Prinze Jr. also auditioned for the role of Stu, but didn't get it. But we all know he ended up in another Kevin Williamson project. For the role of Randy, the friend group's horror snob fifth wheel, producers were looking for actors like Seth Green, Jason Lee, and Breckin Meyer. But Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson liked the mix of innocence and comedy that Jamie Kennedy brought with his portrayal and gave him the part. Liev Schreiber was cast as Cotton Weary, the man who may or may not have murdered Sidney's mother, and voice actor Roger Jackson was hired to voice Ghostface based on his work in Mars Attacks.
Don't run. We are your friends.
Jackson interpreted the role as a more subtle killer than someone like Freddy Krueger and gave it some charisma and sexiness to keep his victims on the phone even though they want to hang up.
So, you got a boyfriend?
Why, you want to ask me out on a date?
Maybe.
Williamson's script only described the killer as ghost mask figure, so the costume department only had that short description to work with. The Ghostface mask has a few different inspirations. The painting The Scream by Edward Munch, the face on the poster for the Pink Floyd film The Wall, and ghostly characters from certain cartoons like Betty Boop and Scooby-Doo. The mask is stark white and depicts a caricature of someone screaming and crying at the same time. Designer Bridget Slayton stated the mask displayed different emotions, ranging from horrible to sorry to frantic. The Ghostface mask was first developed for novelty stores during the Halloween season between 1991 and 1992 by Funworld employee Bridget Slayton, as part of a series titled Fantastic Faces. The mask itself was known as the Peanut-Eyed Ghost and was discovered by producer Marianne Madalena, who found it while inside a house during location scouting for Scream and brought it to the attention of Wes Craven, who set about trying to obtain the rights to use it. On a budget of $14 million, Scream began filming on April 15, 1996. Principal photography started with the opening scenes at Casey Becker's house. While filming, Roger Jackson hid outside the house so he could see Drew Barrymore, but she couldn't see him, in order to give the scene some frightening reality. Jackson used this method in other call scenes and never met the cast in person. For the first few days of filming, a different custom mask was used for shooting, but Wes Craven didn't like it, so he reshot various scenes with the Funworld mask before it was licensed. After seeing some of the dailies, the Weinstein brothers were not impressed by Craven's work, calling it workmanlike at best, thinking it lacked tension and a consistent tone. They didn't like the Funworld mask either, thinking it wasn't scary, and criticized Drew Barrymore, stating she lacked sex appeal due to her pageboy-style wig. Turns out these guys were always monsters. The Weinsteins considered abandoning the film and sent producers to the set demanding reshoots with their alternative mask suggestions. Craven instead offered to edit the existing dailies together to prove the scene and mask worked, and if they didn't like it, they could cancel the project. Upon seeing the footage with temporary music and sound effects, the Weinsteins relented and provided additional funding as well as the licensing needed for the Funworld mask. The scenes set at the high school were supposed to be shot at Santa Rosa High School in California, but very close to shooting, the school board read the script, didn't like the violence and language they found, and denied the crew to shoot there. They were originally under the impression that the film was a comedy, so production scrambled and was moved to Healdsburg, California. Wes Craven and the crew eventually did put a little note to the school as payback under the special thanks section of the credits. David Arquette's and Jamie Kennedy's characters Dewey and Randy were supposed to be killed off in the original script, but alternate scenes were filmed having them survive just in case their characters proved popular with test audiences. Obviously they did, and so did the movie. Due to the success of those screenings, Wes Craven was asked by Miramax to direct 2 Scream sequels. The final cut of the film was rated NC-17 by the MPAA, saying the movie was far too intense and brutal for an R rating. The film was sent to the MPAA over 9 times.
9 times?
9 times.
Until Bob Weinstein stepped in to secure the film's R rating. Weinstein and the filmmakers were eventually able to convince the MPAA that Scream was a spoof, saying that they were focusing too much on the horror aspects of the film. This eventually changed the MPAA's entire point of view and they landed the R rating. This movie is also the first time that Marco Beltrami scored a feature film. He hadn't done any work in film scoring, but Craven thought his music samples rivaled Beltrami's contemporaries, so he gave him a weekend to compose the score for the film's opening sequence, and it landed him the job. Speaking of music, the song Red Right Hand by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds features in this movie, and it's been in every single Scream movie. except the fourth one.
Designed and directed by his red right hand.
Personally, I fucking love the Scream series. It's one of the few slasher series where pretty much every entry is good in my opinion. For the most part. Scream's strength is commentating on the slasher genre as a whole, while simultaneously being a good one, using humor, horror, and intelligence to its advantage.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie. Number 1, you can never have sex. Number 2, you can never drink or do drugs. And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
It's a slick whodunit with great characters and their respective side stories all intertwining at the thrilling conclusion.
He did it, Sidney! Please, I didn't do it. He did it, please. Please, Sidney, no. Fuck you both!
The opening scene truly is amazing. Possibly the best opening scene to a slasher movie ever. It really sets up what the whole movie will be about, with the characters talking about their favorite scary movies and the terrifying trivia game Ghostface makes Casey play. It makes you feel cool for being a knowledgeable slasher fan, and it scares the shit out of you too.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
What did you say?
One of the best parts of this series is that they're also pretty scary. They fit right in with their horror contemporaries and predecessors alike, and it let a whole new generation of horror fans know that Jason's mother was the killer from the first Friday the 13th, and not the hockey mask wearing murderer that we know and love.
It was Jason. I saw that movie 20 goddamn times!
Then you should know Jason's mother, Mrs. Voorhees, was the original killer. Jason didn't show up until the sequel.
Scream is the refined horror fans movie. It's a dream to watch. And it's really a love letter to Halloween. There's direct dialogue references.
Get in the car. Drive down to the Mackenzies.
I want you to go down the street to the Mackenzie's house. I want you to tell them to call the police.
Sidney and Billy listen to a cover of Blue Oyster Cult's Don't Fear the Reaper. Which is Halloween's unofficial theme song in my opinion. It's shown up in that series a few times. They all watch the original Halloween at the ending party scene, which is actually my favorite meta joke in the movie. The character Randy is telling Jamie Lee Curtis that Michael Myers is behind her, while in fact Ghostface is behind Randy's own real-life actor, Jamie Kennedy.
Jamie, look behind you. Look behind you.
And of course, Billy's last name is Loomis.
Pardon me, I'm Loomis, Dr. Sam Loomis.
Which in itself is a reference to Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, but that's another story from another video.
I think our friend Sam Loomis didn't know that Marion was here.
There's also a ton of other scary movie references like
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Basic instinct.
Silence of the Lambs.
What's that werewolf movie with E.T.'s mom in it?
The Howling.
God, look at this place. It's the town that dreaded sundown.
This is standard horror movie stuff. Prom Night Revisited, man.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Anthony Perkins, Psycho.
What's Leatherface doing here?
Corn syrup. Same stuff they use for pig's blood in Carrie.
You're starting to sound like some Wes Carpenter flick or something.
Linda Blair from The Exorcist even has a cameo here, along with Wes Craven himself. Scream was released in North America on December 20th, 1996, where it grossed $6.4 million, placing it at number 4 behind 101 Dalmatians, Jerry Maguire, and Beavis and Butthead Do America.
Yeah, me.
At first, industry professionals labeled Scream as a flop. However, due to positive word of mouth from audiences and exit polling responses, Miramax increased the marketing and distribution budget for the movie, leading to a gradual improvement in performance for Scream over the following weeks. Though Scream did fall to number 5 in its second weekend, it increased its weekend gross to $9 million, then rose up to number 3 in its third weekend with $10 million, where it remained in the top 10 highest grossing films for 9 weeks, surprising everyone with a total gross of $103 million, making it the number 13 highest grossing films of 1996 and highest grossing slasher of its time, all the way up into 2018 with the Halloween reboot. It was Miramax's second film to make $100 million in the US and Canada after Pulp Fiction, and after worldwide grosses added another $70 million, it became the number 15 highest grossing movie of the year with a total of $173 million. Critics love the movie too, praising its meta-commentary and self-referential humor in the writing, Wes Craven's directing, and the performance from the ensemble cast. We had a new legit slasher movie on our hands. And as we all know, with successful movies come sequels.
Please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel.
As I mentioned before, while writing Scream 1, Kevin Williamson also developed ideas for potential sequels. He developed 2 5-page treatments for Scream 2 and 3. In March 1997, Dimension Films pursued Williamson's sequel about Sidney Prescott now attending college, where a copycat Ghostface killer starts a new series of murders. Williamson already had over 40 pages of the plot developed involving 4 different potential killers. Derek, Sidney's new love interest, Hallie, Sidney's new college roommate, Cotton Weary from the original film, and Nancy Loomis, Billy Loomis's mother. Filming began in July 1997, but after Williamson transferred his script to production, it was leaked on the internet in full, ruining the plot and of course revealing the identity of the movie's killer. This forced production to resume filming with only a partial script, and Williamson to make several extensive rewrites to change the finale and the movie's ultimate killers. To avoid another leak, the actors were not given the last pages of the script until just weeks before filming the actual scenes and were only given the pages that revealed who the actual killer was on the day the scene was shot. Later down the line, Kevin Williamson did say the script that was leaked was a dummy draft, made to specifically avoid leaking details that had 3 false endings written, including a decoy ending where Dewey was the killer. A number of titles were also considered by the studio, like Scream Again, Scream Louder, and even Scream, the sequel, before the nice and simple Scream 2 was ultimately decided on. Everyone who was lucky enough to survive Scream 1 returned for the sequel. Neve Campbell as Sidney, Courtney Cox as Gale, David Arquette as Dewey, Jamie Kennedy as Randy, and even Liev Schreiber came back as Cotton Weary, this time in a bigger role in the story, having been exonerated for the murder of Sidney's mother. And of course, Roger Jackson reprised his role as the Ghostface Killer.
Have you ever felt a knife cut through human flesh and scrape the bone beneath?
Much like Scream 1, the casting of side characters contained a mix of well-known and lesser-known actors. This time around, we got Elise Neal as Hallie, Jerry O'Connell as Derek, Timothy Olyphant as Mickey, Laurie Metcalf as Debbie Salt, and Sarah Michelle Gellar as Cece Cooper. Yeah, Buffy's in this one.
I may be dead, but I'm still pretty.
To obtain the role of Sidney's boyfriend Derek, the actors auditioning had to perform the scene from the movie where the character sings, "I Think I Love You."
Isn't that what life is made of?
Filming for Scream 2 took place over 9 weeks starting in mid-June 1997 on a budget of $24 million. Atlanta, Georgia, and Los Angeles stood in for the state of Ohio, where the characters go to the fictional Windsor College. The interior of the Vista Theater on Sunset Drive was used for the theater in the film's opening, while the Rialto Theater in South Pasadena was used for the exterior. Wes Craven once again ran into problems with the MPAA trying to get an R rating. He attempted to avoid these difficulties by sending them cuts that were more violent but containing footage he didn't want to use anyway, so when the MPAA requested cuts be made, it wouldn't matter. Ironically though, the MPAA gave an R rating to the more violent cut, believing the underlying message of the film was significant enough to warrant the violence. This one has another great opening, involving Jada Pinkett Smith on a date with Omar Epps. Does Will Smith know about this? The couple is going to see a movie called Stab. This is when the series starts to get really meta, something that will only grow and grow as the series goes on. You see, in the world of Scream, Gale Weathers has written a book on the events of Scream 1 called The Woodsboro Murders that was adapted into a movie called Stab. In the movie within a movie, actors like Tori Spelling, Luke Wilson, and Heather Graham play themselves playing characters in the Stab films. Spelling was actually cast based on a sarcastic remark by Campbell's character in Scream that she would be played by Spelling in a movie based on her life.
I see you as a young Meg Ryan myself.
Thanks, Dewey. With my luck, I'd cast Tori Spelling.
Stab is one of my favorite things about the Scream series, and I almost get as excited to see its evolution in the movies as I am to watch Scream. Oh, and Robert Rodriguez directed all the footage for Stab, something that would come back as something of an Easter egg in Scream 4. Since this movie is all about sequels, there's a really great discussion where the movie continues to be meta by discussing sequels in general, and if there's any out there that are better than the original.
Oh, please, please. By definition alone, they're inferior films.
It's bullshit generalization. Many sequels have surpassed their original.
Oh, yeah?
Name one.
Aliens. Far better than the first.
Yeah, well, there's no accounting for taste.
Thank you, Ridley Scott rules.
T2.
You've got a hard-on for Cameron.
The Godfather, Part 2.
And it turns out sequels have rules too.
Number 1, the body count is always bigger. Number 2, the death scenes are always much more elaborate. More blood, more gore. And number 3, if you want your sequel to become a franchise, never, ever...
How do we find the killer, Randy? That's what I want to know.
I like this one, but it's probably my least favorite of the original Wes Craven run of Scream movies. To be clear, it's not the worst one, it's the least good. And being the least good Scream isn't a bad thing. There's a subplot about Sidney being a budding actress, and the scene where she's in a dress rehearsal is a little much. It's a little dramatic for a slasher movie, and it goes on too long. And the killer isn't that great. Timothy Olyphant is always good, but I feel like he's barely in the movie, and I don't really know about the twist of him teaming up with Billy's mom. It's straight out of Friday the 13th, a mother going slasher mode, getting revenge for her son, but none of it seems as finely tuned or crafted as the original movie. Though this all could be in part due to the script leaks and rush schedule. The whole stage set-piece ending is kind of over the top in my opinion, and one of the killers is crushed by styrofoam blocks. I mean, they seriously look like styrofoam blocks, look at them bouncing around here. I do like the continuing inclusion of the character of Cotton Weary returning, but him saving the day by finally convincing Sidney to do an interview with him and Diane Sawyer seems silly.
Bet you that Diane Sawyer interview's looking real good right about now.
Consider it done.
But I'm also assuming it's probably supposed to. All the cameos and meta stuff is great. They even threw in a few Friends jokes.
They cast Joe Blow Nobody to play me. At least you get David Schwimmer.
When she starts smoking?
Ever since those nude pictures on the internet.
It was just my head. It was Jennifer Aniston's body.
It is a bummer that Randy doesn't make it out of this one. At least it's not the last time we get to see him. And poor Dewey really has been through it. He gets stabbed in part 1 and stabbed in part 2, but he always seems to make it out alive. I seriously doubt they did this on purpose. In fact, I know they didn't, but I appreciate how this one is worse. Because we know slasher sequels always suck. Being a solid sequel, though not as good as the first one, seems appropriate in my mind. It's kind of fitting for a series so meta. Scream 2 premiered at Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood on December 10, 1997, followed by a general release 2 days later, less than a year after the original Scream. Scream 2 is expected to be such a massive box office success that the James Bond film Tomorrow Never Dies and even James Cameron's future box office smash Titanic pushed their release dates back a week to avoid competition. Despite a swift production time and issues with script leaks and rewrites, Scream 2 opened to $32.9 million on its opening weekend, a whole $27 million more over Scream 1. It eventually grossed $101 million in the US and another $71 million for a worldwide total of $172 million. It was a hit with critics too, as most of them praised its meta-commentary and satirical analysis of sequels. Though some lamented the violence and gore, most seemed to consider it better than the original. It seemed Wes Craven had a new franchise on his hands, and nothing could stop the newest slasher that was Scream. Another sequel was inevitable.
Cause let's face it, baby, these days, you gotta have a sequel!
And this time, Ghostface is going to Hollywood.
Come on, Silent Bob. We're going to Hollywood.
In early 1999, the Weinsteins once again pursued Kevin Williamson to write the third Scream movie. But Williamson had become quite the popular writer after Scream's success and the success of other projects like 1997's I Know What You Did Last Summer. Williamson was also preoccupied with directing his own script for the movie Teaching Mrs. Tingle. He instead wrote a 30-page treatment for a sequel to Scream 2 involving heading back to Woodsboro, where the latest stab film was being shot, for Aaron Kruger to use as an outline to write a full script for Scream 3. Aaron Kruger, you say? Kruger also read Williamson's script for the first two Screams and watched the movies to gain a better appreciation for the characters and tone. Kruger has since stated in interviews that his lack of involvement with the first two movies hurt his ability to write a perfect sequel. Kruger didn't use Williamson's outline that much, and in his early scripts for Scream 3, he had Sidney as a Linda Hamilton and Terminator 2 type of action heroine. Kruger also admitted that Wes Craven had a significant hand in correcting these changes to bring the characters closer to their original appearances. Much like Scream 2, the script for Scream 3 was constantly changing with lots of shoot days using pages that had been written the same day.
Has there been another goddamn rewrite? How the fuck are we supposed to learn our lines when there's a new script every 15 minutes?
To make matters even harder for the production team, shortly before production began, the Columbine High School massacre took place. In the aftermath of this incident, people once again started looking for who was to blame, and decided on violent movies and video games, putting Scream 3 on trial as to whether it should be made or not. The studio decided to push forward, opting to lean on the series' satirical humor and scaling back the use of violence and gore. Studio execs even went so far as to demand no blood or on-screen violence of any kind in the film until Wes Craven intervened, saying, "Be serious, guys. Either we make a Scream movie or we make a movie and call it something else. But if it's a Scream movie, it's going to have certain standards." Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, and Liev Schreiber all came back to reprise their roles for Part 3. As of course did Roger Jackson as the voice of Ghostface.
Sarah gets skewered like a fucking pig.
Scream 3 continued the series' meta-tradition with the continuation of the movie within a movie, Stab, with a lot of the supporting cast playing fictitious actors with parts in Stab 3. We've got Emily Mortimer as Angelina Tyler playing Sidney, Parker Posey as Jennifer Jolie playing Gale Weathers, another Friends reference, Matt Kiesler as Tom Prince playing Officer Dewey, Dion Richmond as Tyson Fox, who is playing Ricky, the Stab 3 equivalent of Randy Meeks, and Scott Foley as the film's director Roman Bridger. We've also got Patrick Dempsey as Detective Mark Kincaid. Still following?
Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
Most of the actor character names are all, of course, tongue-in-cheek jokes to popular actors of the time like Angelina Jolie, Liv Tyler, Freddie Prinze Jr., and Jamie Foxx. Scream 3 also has its fair share of cameo appearances with Lance Henriksen, Roger Corman, Carrie Fisher, Patrick Warburton, and of course the dynamic stoner duo Jay and Silent Bob.
Shit, Silent Bob, it's that TV news shit, Connie fucking Chung!
Kevin Smith would eventually call back to this in his own movie Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back a year later.
Alright, you bastard, let's see who you really are.
A monkey? Wes? I mean, Jesus, you guys aren't even trying anymore, are you?
But the market research says people love monkeys.
We love this monkey! Do something!
See?
Fun fact, Scream 3 also featured the first live on-screen appearance of Sidney Prescott's mother, Maureen Prescott, played by Lynn McCree, who had only represented the character in photographs in the previous movies. Filming for Scream 3 took place over 12 weeks in Hollywood, Los Angeles, with shooting taking place in the San Fernando Valley, MacArthur Park, Hollywood Hills, Silver Lake, and Topanga Canyon. After the 3 months of filming was originally completed, production decided the ending needed to be reshot. Originally, the film ended with Sidney defeating the revealed killer, leading to the police arriving in the early morning after, and then the ending with Sidney in her home. Production felt that this essentially amounted to 3 endings, affecting the pace of the film. They also felt that since at the time this was the big concluding chapter to the Scream trilogy, that the audience needed to believe that Sidney could lose the battle with Ghostface, and possibly even die. Something that didn't come across in the originally filmed ending. The new ending had Ghostface shooting Sidney, seemingly to death. and also added the presence of Detective Kincaid, who had originally been absent during the finale. Once again, the movie's got a killer opening, pun intended, about Cotton Weary, who is now the host of a successful talk show, but he doesn't make it out of the intro. Poor Cotton.
It was a simple game, Cotton. Now, you lose.
This time around, Sidney is living in a rural area with lots of locks on the door and all that. I guess Laurie Strode took some notes from this movie in 2018. Sidney works for a women's crisis phone line and goes by another name.
Hey, it's Laura from Monterey reporting to work. Can you patch me in?
I guess she took some notes from Laurie in H20.
My name's not Carrie Tate.
Scream 3 is where it starts to get really meta. The premise of the movie is built around them filming Stab 3, which somehow involves the events of Scream 1, which is kind of confusing. Why is Stab 3 based on the events of Scream 1? Wasn't Stab 1 based on Scream 1?
No, I've gone cross-eyed.
Anyway, Sidney is drawn to Hollywood after a new Ghostface killer starts murdering the cast of Stab 3. Sidney must face her fears and ultimately her destiny. I like this one a lot. It's more than just a continuation of the story and characters like the second one was. I love the Hollywood location with all the film sets. The more meta, the better, in my opinion. And I like the big family reveal at the end.
Roman Bridger, director.
And brother.
It's a little convoluted, but at least it's something new. It is a self-aware movie series, after all.
Because true trilogies are all about going back to the beginning and discovering something that wasn't true from the get-go.
Oh yeah, people were so upset that Randy died in part 2 that he makes a cameo in this next one in the form of a recorded video message explaining the rules to the theme of this chapter of Scream. Trilogies. All bets are off.
1, you got a killer who's going to be superhuman. Stabbing him won't work, shooting him won't work, blow him up. Number 2, anyone, including the main character, can die. This means you, Sid. I'm sorry. Number 3, the past will come back to bite you in the ass. Whatever you think you know about the past, forget it. The past is not at rest. Good luck, Godspeed, and for some of you, I'll see you soon.
This one is not without its problems, though they seem minor when compared to Scream 2's issues. Due to the cast blowing up in popularity between films, especially Neve Campbell, it was sometimes a challenge to get all the actors together on the same schedule. Campbell's schedule was so hectic that she was only available 20 days to shoot on this movie, so the story relied more heavily on Courtney Cox and David Arquette's characters. And this is mostly a personal gripe, but I don't really like when horror movies, or most movies in general, go back and change the original source material. Scream 3 messes a little with the continuity of Part 1 in that Roman Bridger reveals that he was the one that informed Billy Loomis that Sidney's mother was the one that Billy's father had an affair with, motivating Billy and Stu Macher to kill her.
No, I've gone cross-eyed.
Not the biggest flaw or anything, and I do like the movie adding a secret long-lost family member in.
Godfather, Jedi, all revealed something that we thought was true that wasn't true.
So I'll take it. Besides, the scariest part of this movie is Courtney Cox's hair.
I said I wanted it like Demi more.
Scream 3 wraps up with Dewey and Gale reluctantly getting married, Sidney puts her fears to rest, and all is well. Scream 3 premiered on February 3rd, 2000 at the AMC Avco Theater in Westwood, LA in California, setting a record for the widest opening ever in the US and Canada, releasing on 3,467 screens. It grossed $34.7 million in its opening weekend, hitting number 1 at the box office, breaking the special edition release of The Empire Strikes Back's record for the highest weekend debut in February. It beat Scream 2's record for the highest weekend debut for a horror film and went on to gross $89.1 million in the US and Canada, with an additional $72.7 million in other territories for a worldwide gross of $161.8 million. Less than its predecessors, but still a strong take. Reviews were a bit mixed for this one. Some considered it a satisfying conclusion to the trilogy that had retained its horror and comedy aspects, while others stated that it was cliché and the premise of the series had worn too thin, almost becoming one of the slasher movies it was itself parodying.
You followed directions well, Sidney. Now welcome to the final act.
The series was originally meant to conclude with Scream 3, wrapping everything up in a nice little slasher trilogy. But in summer of 2008, the Weinstein Company announced development of a fourth film. The director of the series' previous entries, Wes Craven, said he would be interested in directing if the script was as good as the original Scream. Kevin Williamson, the writer of the first two Screams, confirmed he'd be penning the script with production beginning during the hiatus of his show, The Vampire Diaries, and shortly after that, Wes Craven confirmed he would indeed be directing again. With Scream 4, Williamson wanted to tell a story about the characters in the story, something the audience could really care about and connect to as opposed to stories in modern-day gore porn horror movies that focus on the next kill more than anything else. Williamson and Craven created a world for Scream 4 in which no new, quote, real-life Ghostface murders had taken place from the 10 years since the events of Scream 3, but numerous sequels to the movie-within-a-movie Stab had come out, allowing he and Williamson to comment and parody the endless sequels and cascade of remakes that had come out since.
Name the remake of the groundbreaking horror movie in which the villain...
Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, Dawn of the Dead, The Hills Have Eyes.
The main characters of Scream 4, including Sidney Prescott, who has done her best to move on from the events of the previous movies, even releasing a book about her experiences, must must figure out where the horror genre is currently to survive the modern slasher happenings taking place around them. Once Wes Craven was on board to direct, it was a domino effect of everyone else wanting to be involved. From the central cast of Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, and David Arquette, all the way down to Marco Beltrami, who came back to score the film. Scream 4 brought some fresh faces in alongside the main players from the original trilogy to round out the new teen roles and potential killers, including Hayden Panettiere, Rory Culkin, and Emma Roberts. Alison Brie was also cast as Sidney's publicist Rebecca Walters, and Wendy Peppercorn also played Sheriff Deputy Judy Hicks.
She knows exactly what she's doing.
The movie also has its fair share of cameos from actors like Anna Paquin, Kristen Bell, Lucy Hale, Adam Brody, and Anthony Anderson. And of course, Roger Jackson lent his voice to Ghostface.
I'm gonna slit your eyelids in half so you don't blink when I stab you in the face.
In an interview, Kevin Williamson denied a rumor that Jamie Kennedy would be returning to reprise his role as Randy Meeks from Scream 1 and 2, stating it would make Scream 2 a lie and that he, quote, just won't do it. Principal photography for Scream 4 began in late June 2010 on a budget of $40 million. Filming took place in Ann Arbor, Michigan, downtown Northville, Michigan, and scenes portraying Woodsboro High were shot at Woodsworth Middle School in Dearborn, Michigan, with the former 16th District Court in Livonia, Michigan used for scenes at the police station. In a franchise first, the film features an extensive use of CGI. Instead of using the usual collapsible knife for the murder scenes, the knife's blade was added during post-production. Aaron Kruger, who penned Scream 3, was brought in to do some rewrites, and the cast was reportedly once again not given the entire script to protect the identity of the Ghostface killer. There are a couple differences between the original script and the final version of the movie. The opening fake-out scenes were changed around, and the scenes involving Gale getting attacked at the Stabathon did not appear in the original script. The ending was also heavily changed, with it originally ending at the house with Jill seemingly getting away with her plan before a paramedic announcing that someone in the house was still alive, alluding it to be either Sidney or Kirby, whose final fate we technically didn't know, ending on a cliffhanger presumably setting up Jill as the antagonist of the next film. Sidney would also possibly be suffering from amnesia in the next movie, unable to remember that Jill was the killer. After some test screenings, Craven and the Weinsteins didn't think a couple scenes were working for the audience, so some reshoots were done. These scenes were the opening with Amy Teagarden and Alison Brie's death scene. Scream 4 is one of my very favorite installments of the series, and besides a weird glowy filter that permeates throughout the movie, it's a true return to form, with everything being dialed back and tightened up. This was the first Scream movie I ever had the pleasure of seeing in theaters, and I can still remember the midnight show being electric. Watching and hearing the phone call sound effects on the opening titles with an auditorium full of longtime fans who'd grown up on Ghostface and the original Scream trilogy was great. It felt like a welcome back to Woodsboro, feeling the most like the original out of all the sequels with its whodunit plot full of red herrings and intrigue. With lots of parallels to the first, like boys sneaking into their girlfriend's windows, the garage door reference, the showdown in the kitchen with someone tied up in the closet, and of course, the trivia game.
Forget watching Stab, you get to live it.
Some people didn't like the double fake-out opening scenes, but I loved it. It's fun. It gets the meta ball rolling with some funny cameos and fills the audience in on how far the Stab movies have come since Scream 3.
How meta can you get?
What can you get?
With the popular cinematic innovation of legacy characters and reboots, there's more than one main character to root for with Sidney, Gale, and Dewey. 3 times the characters to worry about getting killed off the further this series goes. The reveal that Jill, Sidney's cousin and assumed final girl, was the killer was a pretty big twist. Especially since we were kind of assuming Emma Roberts might be the new lead in upcoming Scream sequels if she made it out of this one. And her motivation of wanting to replace Sidney as the survivor of a Ghostface attack is not only good as a commentary on remakes, but a great note on the lengths certain weirdos will go to become famous online.
Like and subscribe.
Man, Sidney just cannot catch a break with her family members. Ghostface killed her mom and her aunt, and now they're trying to kill her to replace her.
I don't need friends. I need fans.
All the cameos I mentioned before are really good.
Not all cops die in movies.
Sucks to be a cop in a movie, unless you're Bruce Willis.
And the movie is full of great moments.
Liar. I'm over this.
I never said I was in your closet.
And it's particularly brutal. But it also retains its dark comedic edge.
It was the killer's voice. From Stab? Or, I mean, you know, from your life.
Listen, in about 2 seconds, I'm gonna revitalize your face with my tarnished brand. I still got it.
I'll be right back.
Shit. I know this one. You're not supposed to say that, are you?
Fuck Bruce Willis.
Of course, the references to other horror franchises is back.
Did you pick a movie?
Yeah. We're gonna go scary. Saw 4.
I mean, Stab is the wrong franchise for her. It should be Final Destination.
And there's lots of clever foreshadowing.
Before you get in the car, you have to promise not to kill me.
4-letter word for courage?
Guts.
And all the updated Stab stuff is awesome. The characters all watching a Stabathon seems like something us horror fans would do. and no Scream movie would be complete without some rules. Scream 4 comes complete with a film history and commentary and rules for remakes.
You gotta have an opening sequence that blows the doors off, dial up some flashy music video direction, and the kills gotta be way more extreme.
So the reversals become the new standard. In fact, the only surefire way to survive a modern horror movie, you pretty much have to be gay.
You can't, there's rules. I'm gay. I'm gay. I mean, if it helps.
But it really all comes down to one thing.
Don't fuck with the original.
Scream 4 was released at the TCL Chinese Theater on April 15th, 2011. It grossed $38 million in the US and Canada and another $59 million worldwide for a total gross of $97 million against a $40 million budget. A disappointing return, making Scream 4 the third lowest opening of the series. The film was met with mixed reviews, with some claiming the series was too old or had become cliché, but most saying it was a welcome return to the series' roots and an undeniable improvement over its predecessor. The movie has gained a lot more appreciation over time though, with many crediting the film's foreshadowing the effects of social media and internet fame on today's youth.
Everybody will be doing it someday, Sid.
After Scream 4, there were the usual rumors and expectations of a fifth entry into the series. Both Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson stated that another sequel would depend on their previous film's success. And while Scream 4 was a hit with the fans, it didn't do that great at the box office, so hopes weren't very high. Over the years, news on a Scream 5 eventually began to fade into the background. Then, unfortunately, on August 30th, 2015, Wes Craven died from complications of a brain tumor at his home in LA. A torrent of tributes came out of Hollywood from actors who'd worked with Craven like the Scream crew, Johnny Depp, Heather Langenkamp, Robert Englund, and fellow directors like Sean Cunningham, John Carpenter, Joe Dante, and Edgar Wright. Throughout his career, Craven was nominated for and won several awards, including multiple Saturn Awards and numerous film festival honors. He'd go down as a prolific horror master, best known for being a pioneer in the horror genre, mixing horror cliches with humor and satire with his work like The Hills Have Eyes, The Last House on the Left, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and of course, the Scream series. Craven was laid to rest at the Lambert's Cove Cemetery in West Tisbury on the island of Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts. After lackluster reviews for Scream 4, an ambitious but failed attempt at a television series, and Wes Craven's passing, the series was in a bit of a limbo. And in the wake of numerous sexual misconduct allegations against Harvey Weinstein, his production house, the Weinstein Company, had been shut down, leaving the fate of the series up in the air. There were rumors that Blumhouse Productions, who we all know has a history with horror films, was interested in reviving the series. After these rumors proved to be false, Spyglass Media Group acquired the rights to the series in late 2019. They announced that they planned to feature a new story with a new cast, but could possibly feature appearances from Scream alumni in the cast too. A year later, Kevin Williamson, who is now an executive producer on the film, announced that the new movie's title was officially Scream. Okay, you know, that was actually a good sign. All these horror sequels are all either dropping the from their name like they're Sean Parker or something, or just reusing the original title for a new entry.
Drop the. It's clear.
Evil Dead, Blair Witch, Candyman, The Thing, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Final Destination. Scream 2022 is guilty of the same thing, but I like to think it's an inside joke or a wink at this trend. It very well may not be, but I'm willing to give a series so meta the benefit of the doubt.
And can we talk about the title? Stab? What, just like the original? Just call it Stab 8. It's fucking Stab 8. You're not fooling anyone.
In March of 2020, it was announced that Ready or Not directors Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette would direct Scream with production beginning in May. Then came the news that David Arquette would reprise his role as Dewey, with James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick as the new screenwriters. Vanderbilt showed Kevin Williamson the new script and asked him to be part of the film, but Williamson turned them down, stating he did not want to be part of a Scream project without Wes Craven. Williamson did eventually relent, agreeing to join the team if they dedicated the movie to Craven, which they did. In July 2020, Courtney Cox announced on her Instagram account that she would officially be returning to the franchise. In the coming months, Neve Campbell, Mary Shelton, and Roger Jackson also confirmed that they'd be reprising their roles, followed by newcomers Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega, Jack Quaid, Dylan Minnette, Mason Gooding, Kyle Gallner, Jasmine Savoy Brown, Mikey Madison, and Sonia Amar joining the cast. Though principal photography was supposed to begin in May 2020, delays due to the COVID-19 pandemic pushed production to September 2020, with shooting taking place in and around Wilmington, North Carolina, with production finishing up in November. In May 2021, it was also announced that Brian Tyler, who had worked with the new directors on Ready or Not, would be taking over scoring the film from Marco Beltrami, who had scored the previous 4 movies. The day came and we all sat down to watch a new era of Scream. An era where Sidney and company take a backseat to some new teens for us to get to know and hopefully fall in love with. Let's get into this reboot. No Scream movie is complete without a great opening, and this one does a damn fine job. It opens with a black screen with a telltale ringing phone to set the stage where we meet one of the series' new leads, Jenna Ortega, who plays Tara Carpenter. I'm sure you all know Jenna Ortega by now, after her starring role in this movie, Ty West's ex, as Wednesday Addams in Wednesday, and as Astrid Dietz in Beetlejuice, among many, many other roles. Tara represents the Gen Z horror fan. She's a fan of what this movie has dubbed elevated horror. Movies like The Babadook, It Follows, The Witch, and Hereditary. She's got no time for 90s slashers.
It was like really overlit and everyone had weird hair.
The opening is very reminiscent of the first Scream movie. The killer calls Tara and makes her play stab movie trivia or he'll kill her friend. The stab trivia is, of course, Scream trivia.
The correct answer is Billy Loomis and Stu Marker. There are 2 killers in the original Stab.
And Tara is not off to a good start. Then we meet Samantha Carpenter, Tara's estranged sister and new final girl of the series. She learns about the attack on her sister, and we're headed back to Woodsboro, where we're introduced to a whole new group of characters who all have their reasons that they could or could not be the new Ghostface killer. I'll say at first it was a little jarring getting to know these new main characters, but over time they've really grown on me. They do fit right in, and the new directors have done a masterful job updating this series. Most of the characters are relatives of the previous crew of characters, allowing them to easily fill in for them in this new story. Mindy and Chad are Randy Meek's niece and nephew. Wes here is Judy Hicks' son, and it turns out in a shocking twist that the new main character Samantha is Billy Loomis' long-lost daughter.
Those diaries told me who my real father was. It was Billy Loomis.
This bothered some people and did sort of stretch some of that willful suspension of disbelief that comes with slashers, but you get used to it. This series has all kinds of secret family lore, and is similar to Sidney's background with infidelity leading to bigger problems. Besides, the sister dynamic is good, and now we've got 2 leading ladies. Around the half-hour mark, we finally get an old character back in the form of Dewey, who was forced into retirement and isn't married to Gale Weathers anymore. I've always kind of appreciated that Scream kind of reflects Courtney Cox and David Arquette's relationship in real life. They met on Scream 1, were married by part 3, and eventually divorced after part 4. Anyway, Dewey meets the new main characters and lays down some rules he's learned during his tenure in the series.
Rule number 1. Never trust the love interest. Rule number 2, the killer's motive is always connected to something in the past. And rule number 3, and this is the most important rule, the first victim always has a friend group that the killer is a part of.
Mindy, being Randy's niece, is naturally the one who introduces the theme of this Scream, requels. She talks about horror fans and why we truly love horror movies and lays down some new rules.
See, you can't just reboot a franchise from scratch anymore. The fans won't stand for it. But you can't just do a straight sequel either. You gotta build something new. New main characters, yes, but supported by and related to legacy characters.
They are introducing a new crew while the old crew sort of plays second fiddle, sure, but at least they didn't do it like Star Wars, where legacy characters show up at a timed interval for nostalgia's sake, only to die every episode. Okay, Dewey, Gale, and Sidney each show up about every half an hour. But it feels like a better transition to a new crew, having the older ones show them the ropes while still being important to the story than some other requels. It also helps that there are some throwbacks to the original for the big fans. Dewey has Tatum's ashes on his mantle, and Sidney even refers to her husband Mark, confirming rumors that she and Patrick Dempsey's character dated after Scream 3. By the way, Randy's sister, who was in Scream 3, makes an appearance in this one too. This Scream follows all the rules laid out the last decade by requels like Jurassic World, Ghostbusters, Halloween, Saw, Terminator, and even the new Star Wars. It's slightly derivative, but isn't that the point? It's a solid new entry.
You know how they always say it goes back to the original? Here's the original.
You know, it's actually pretty impressive that the original crew has made it this far.
Not today!
Like I said, Dewey always... Oh no, Dewey, no! No!
Yes, today!
Damn, they finally got Dewey. At least it was nice and brutal.
It's an honor.
It was also cool to see Judy Hicks again, who is now the sheriff. Oh no, Wendy Peppercorn, no! Man, Scream movies really like to hang out with the victim when they stab people. I am not okay with all these legacy characters dying, to be honest. Speaking of legacy, the movie does a nice job honoring Wes Craven's passing. We've got the character Wes, and when he bites it, there's a banner at a party honoring him and a not-so-subtle nod to Craven.
Take a look at Banner, Michael!
Overall, Scream 2022 is a solid sequel. Requel, whatever. It's a good welcome back to the series and a good place to restart. And the standard series staples are present. Red Right Hand makes its comeback.
Heal your shrinking soul.
Lots of references to Psycho and Halloween.
Ever seen the movie Psycho?
Listen up, uglier Michael Myers.
And have a bona fide Halloween without Jamie Lee.
Sounds a lot like Halloween.
All right, it's a little like Halloween.
Okay.
The movie within a movie stab lives on, of course. We even get more footage and lore about who played who. Turns out Vince Vaughn played Stu in the original. And there's tons of good throwbacks to the original Scream.
Turn around.
Look
Jamie.
behind.
Jamie.
Oh, shit.
But let's talk about the Billy Loomis thing. This is the first and only time so far that Scream has had something semi-supernatural happen, and I'm not too sure it works. I guess it mostly works as a way to communicate to the audience what Samantha is going through, struggling with having a serial killer for a dad. But at the end, when Billy starts telling her where knives are hidden to help her, kinda pushes it. Plus, the CGI is... woof. Once again, some people make it who you thought might not have, and a new Scream chapter comes to a close. Scream was released on January 14th, 2022, earning $30 million in its opening weekend, becoming the first movie to dethrone Spider-Man No Way Home at the box office. No Way Home would eventually rise back to number 1 the next weekend, but Scream eventually grossed $81.6 million in the US and Canada, with an added $57.2 million in other territories for a worldwide gross of $138.9 million on a budget of $24 million. Critics liked the movie too, welcoming Scream, the distinguished series that always raises the bar for slashers for the past 25 years, back with open arms. They praised the new cast and the old, only complaining that the movie could have been a little scarier. Less than a month after Scream 2022's release, a sequel was officially greenlit. Matt Bettinelli opened and Tyler Gillette would return to direct, and James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick would return to write the script. Over the next few spring and summer months, it was announced that Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega, Jasmine Savoy Brown, and Mason Gooding would all reprise their roles of the teenage crew in Scream 6. Newcomer Dermot Mulroney was also announced to join the cast along with Jack Champion, Liana Liberato, Devin Nakota, Josh Segarra, and Tony Revolori. Samara Weaving and Henry Cherney, who had worked with the directors on Ready or Not, also joined the cast. Courtney Cox would also join, reprising her role as Gale Weathers. And in a surprise announcement, it was revealed that Hayden Panettiere would also reprise her role of Kirby Reed from the 4th film. This was a little odd, but considering we didn't technically see her die in Scream 4, I guess we'd see how that played out. In another surprise reveal, we found out that longtime Scream lead Neve Campbell would not be returning to her role as Sidney Prescott in Scream 6. Campbell made a statement that she was not being valued and paid as much as she should be in the Scream franchise, further clarifying a few weeks later that she could not bear to walk on set and feel undervalued, and that the offer she originally got would have been different had she been a man. Losing Neve Campbell was definitely a shock to Scream fans, and many of us considered this the end of an era. But she wasn't wrong. Neve Campbell is the beating heart of Scream, and she's been there since day one. It left us unsure of what to expect from Scream 6. Jasmine Savoy Brown and Melissa Barrera, as well as Scream alumni like David Arquette, Courtney Cox, Emma Roberts, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Matthew Lillard, and Jamie Kennedy all expressed support for Campbell, saluting her longtime involvement with the series. The new directors also supported Campbell, commenting on how her absence greatly affected the script, but also noted that she had decided to leave early enough in the process that they could reshape the script to focus more on the young survivors from the previous movie. They also did mention that they'd love the opportunity for Campbell to return for future sequels. Production moved forward and principal photography began in early June 2022 in Montreal, Canada. With basically the same cast and crew, the shoot went about as well as Scream 2022 did, with the directors using as many practical effects as possible.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Not that one.
I know I said they all have great openings, but damn, this was good. Right when you think they're gonna do the usual thing where they slash the screen and cut to the title,
Now I see something red.
They don't. After the killer murders Samara Weaving, he is immediately revealed to be Flash Thompson. Then we follow him to his place where he watches Jason Takes Manhattan and talks about his paper on Giallo films.
She gave me a C- on my Giallo paper.
Which of course keeps with the meta fashion of Scream movies. Giallo films were Italian-produced murder mystery horror films from the 60s and 70s that basically paved the way for modern-day American slashers. We learn that Flash and his roommate intend to finish Richie's movie from the previous film by killing the Carpenter sisters. But something goes wrong as he finds his roommate hacked up in the refrigerator and a different killer takes him out. With the aforementioned Slash, of course.
Who gives a fuck about movies?
This time around, the movie is set in New York City. The advertising for the movie made a big deal about this one being set in New York, like it was the first Scream movie to not be set in Woodsboro. Like they hadn't done that twice before with Scream 2 and 3. Literally only half these movies have taken place there. But even if they have done it before, the big change in setting is a welcome one. It gives the movie a fresh feeling, where Ghostface can be anyone around any corner. Plus the movie takes place around Halloween, so there's a lot of possible killers out there.
This might not have anything to do with us. Are you serious? It's a big city. It's Halloween. Everybody's wearing masks.
This is one thing I love about the Scream series. Ghostface could be literally anyone. Just one part of Scream's brilliance stems from the use of the mask, the total anonymity of the killer, or killers, in each film. Anyone in real life can get a Ghostface mask, and it's the same in this series. Hell, even Gale has one. The other slasher kings, Freddy, Jason, and Michael, are all terrifying, all their faces hidden to some extent by masks, disfigurement, or oftentimes some combo of the two. But despite what they wear on their face, we know who they are in every movie. Sure, there have been some identity twists over the years here and there, but for the most part we know who's behind the mask. Not the case with Scream. It pulls no punches with the list of villains. Could be your boyfriend, your best friend's boyfriend, your best boyfriend's mom, or even your long-lost brother. There's just no way to know, and half the fun in these movies is trying to guess the identity of the killer. Only to be surprised as hell when your number one suspect gets knifed themselves. The core four, as they go by now, of the previous films is back. I gotta say, all the hangups I had with the cast the first time around are gone. Not only am I used to them now, I'm rooting for them almost the same way I was rooting for the original Scream crew. They really are the core four. Samantha has become overprotective of Tara after the events of Scream 2022. She's all Jamie Lee Curtis about it, while Tara isn't so much, wanting to move on from what happened in Woodsboro with Ghostface. Samantha has become a public pariah due to conspiracy theories online, theorizing that she was the real mastermind behind the killings in the previous Scream, and Tara and Chad start getting romantic. We've got the usual new characters brought in to round out the suspect list and or body count. New boyfriends, new roommates, Spider from Avatar, the whole shebang. And of course, there's new rules to describe the theme, which is...
We're in a franchise! Rule 1. Everything is bigger than last time. Bigger budget, bigger cast, bigger body count. Rule 2. Whatever happened last time, expect the opposite. And rule 3. No one is safe.
Gale Weathers returns but has gone back to her old ways of writing about people and ruining their lives.
Oh! Nice try, sweetie. But I've done this dance before.
Gale also drops us a throwaway line about what Sidney is up to.
She sends her love, but she's taking Mark and the kids someplace safe. She deserves to have her happy ending.
Like we really think she'll never come back. And surprise, Kirby's back. Kirby coming back from the dead was a little far-fetched for a series that usually takes itself pretty seriously, but as I said earlier, we didn't technically see her die, so it was technically okay. It was something I was willing to give a chance anyway, and I gotta say she's pretty good. It is cool to see Scream 4 getting some recognition. Though something makes me think that this was going to be Neve Campbell's role in the movie. Maybe not her being an FBI agent, but everything else. Overall, Scream 6 is a really solid sequel again. It carries everything from the previous movie over perfectly just like the original trilogy did, and it's another great mystery thriller with the usual twists and turns. It's got some really intense scenes, with the scene on the train being particularly good. The main characters are traveling by subway, and since it's Halloween time, the car is packed to the max with Halloween revelers referencing tons of other iconic scary movies like Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Pinhead, Us, The Shining, It, Mojo Jojo, and this moment, goddamn. The directors purposefully didn't put this in the trailer to make it all the more special, and it definitely was. Ghostface brandishing a shotgun over the usual knife is surprisingly cool. If you thought Ghostface was threatening before, just wait till you see this intense scene.
Wait. No. This is my boomstick!
Ghostface has a new look with a beat-up old mask that breathes some new life into the character. I'll let you see why he wears it in the movie for yourself. The killer twist is also good, with Richie's family aiming to exact revenge on Samantha for murdering him after he tried to kill her. This series has really got the familial thing down, and for the first time, there's 3 killers. The makeshift rogues gallery of stab memorabilia they've set up is also really cool. This movie does a great job of honoring what came before it, and almost feels like a greatest hit Scream movie. This scene also gives an opportunity for the new and old characters to compare their movie knowledge.
Best Nightmare on Elm Street. The original.
Okay.
Psycho 2 is
Underrated.
True.
Candyman. The original or equal.
both.
Also true.
Best Friday the 13th.
Part
Final
2.
chapter.
I don't know about that. They also talk about the possibility that Stumacher is alive and still out there.
TV that killed Stumacher.
If you believe he's dead.
This is a reference to Scream fans really wanting Matthew Lillard to come back to the series as Stu. I can handle bringing back Kirby, but if they bring back Stumacher, I think I'm out. This series has been doing so well for 30 years, and that to me would be too much. Stu died. We saw him die. He's dead. Scream 6 had its world premiere at AMC Lincoln Square Theater on March 6, 2023. This one had an extensive viral marketing stunt that involved people wearing Ghostface costumes standing or walking around streets, prompting multiple 911 calls from distressed locals. There was also a website that allowed American users to send and receive personalized calls from Ghostface.
Hello? What's your favorite scary movie?
Scream 6 grossed $108.2 million in the US and Canada, and $60.8 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $169.1 million, all on a budget of about $35 million. It debuted at $44.4 million, claiming number 1 at the box office and making it the highest opening weekend for the Scream franchise. It crossed the $100 million mark on April 5th, becoming the second Scream movie to do so since Scream 2, and became the highest grossing movie of the franchise shortly after. Critics even liked this one too, calling it a blend of nostalgia with a fresh take, celebrating the new setting, notable set pieces, and noted the filmmakers keeping things fresh with being smarter than Scream 2022 and the choice of brutality over violence. They also praised the cast performance, particularly Hayden Panettiere's return to the franchise.
I saw that in a scary movie once.
In March 2023, directors Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette expressed interest in a 7th film, saying they'd like to see more films in the franchise whether they were involved or not, also stating that they'd love to make another one with Neve Campbell and that they were not giving up on the idea. But in August 2023, it was announced that Happy Death Day director and Paranormal Activity 2 through 5 writer Christopher Landon would be directing the 7th film. Due to the 2023 Writers Guild of America and SAG-AFTRA strikes, production had been slowed down. And shortly after, production was pushed back again in November when Melissa Barrera was fired from the film for posting on social media in support of Palestine during the 2023 Israel-Hamas war. Producers found the post to be anti-Semitic and unfortunately let her go. The next day, it was announced that Jenna Ortega would also not be returning due to scheduling conflicts with shooting the second season of the Netflix series Wednesday, as well as due to salary disputes with Spyglass Media Group. The two leads leaving left production in the lurch, forcing writers James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick to start from scratch. Then in the following December, Christopher Landon announced that he was no longer directing. A year later, in March 2024, Neve Campbell announced on her Instagram that she would be returning to the franchise as Sidney Prescott, along with original writer Kevin Williamson directing. James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick would stay on as writers, and Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette would serve as executive producers. It definitely sucks that Melissa Barrera won't be returning for Scream 7. She was a great lead, as was Jenna Ortega. It seems like a mistake to move on without them. Scream had found its footing again with the new cast and was starting to feel like a new series separate from the original trilogy. Original Scream star Skeet Ulrich stated in an interview that the idea of Samantha's killer instinct was pitched to him as a 3-movie arc years ago when he signed on. We were just getting to know these characters, and it's a shame we won't get to see that through. Similarly, I'm not too sure if bringing back Sidney is a good idea or not. Don't get me wrong, it is cool that Neve Campbell is getting her well-deserved payday, but I'm worried it's only because the producers screwed themselves by firing Melissa Barrera, and then Jenna Ortega leaving, and now they have nothing else. They were obviously poised and more than ready to keep going with these new characters. Even if you liked it or not, you can't deny that without these characters, we're left hanging on what could have been a second trilogy. It also seems like the things that happened in the last 2 movies didn't really matter that much now that we have to reboot all over again. Rebooting so soon means that what began as a love letter to slashers and slasher series is now in danger of becoming a bad one. Kevin Williamson directing could be okay though as far as I can tell, the only thing he's directed was Teaching Mrs. Tingle back in 1999. I guess we'll have to wait and see in the next couple years.
Fuck this franchise.
And that's Scream. In my opinion, one of the very few slasher series whose quality never falters. Scream hasn't overextended itself like other franchises with space travel or rewriting the entire history. It hasn't suffered remakes or shitty sequels in part because from the beginning, Scream has always been a self-effacing, self-aware series using meta-jokes to poke fun at slashers and itself. Scream is largely credited with rebooting the stagnant slasher genre as a whole in the 1990s. When this series first came out, it was such a phenomenon that caller ID sales tripled in the US. The series has always been well taken care of with great directors, great writers, and great actors and characters. If the last 30 years is any indication, I'm sure what's coming next will be just the same. The future of the series may be up in the air right now, but never forget, the killer always comes back for one last scare.
Not in my movie.